For decades, the wealthiest moved billions through a piece of paper that proved ownership to nobody, and regulators couldn't touch it. Bearer shares were a financial instrument that worked like cash. Whoever held the physical certificate owned the asset. No registry, no names, no trail. This wasn't a loophole discovered by accident. It was engineered into the system centuries ago, before governments even thought to ask who owned what. Exhibit 1, bearer shares emerged in Europe around the 17th century, when joint stock companies needed liquidity. Merchants could trade ownership without bureaucratic friction. It was efficient. It was also anonymous by design. No one asked questions about provenance because the certificate itself was the proof. Exhibit 2, by the mid-20th century, bearer shares had become the preferred vehicle for wealth concealment. A corporation could issue them. They could be tucked into a briefcase, moved across borders, and transferred with a handshake. Tax authorities faced a structural problem. You can't tax what you can't see. Exhibit 3, the system created predictable feedback loops. Wealth flowed offshore. Tax bases eroded. Governments noticed the pattern, and rather than close it immediately, some leveraged it themselves. It became a tool of statecraft, a way wealthy nations could compete for capital. By the 1990s and early 2000s, the pressure mounted. Money laundering scandals, terrorist financing concerns, and pressure from tax authorities forced a reckoning. The European Union began restricting bearer shares. The US tightened rules, but the damage was already systemic. What's crucial to understand, bearer shares weren't illegal. They were legal tools that enabled illegality. The certificate itself didn't break laws, but it created an environment where accountability was optional. Regulators were always playing catch-up because the system was designed before transparency was even a concept. Today, bearer shares are largely phased out in developed markets, but the principle that ownership can be obscured through structural design rather than outright fraud persists. It lived on in shell companies, trusts, and digital assets. The tool changed. The logic remained. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. Subscribe to see how this same pattern repeats across every financial system that followed. There's a new mechanism every decade. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.